Makeup products can be a little bit overwhelming. If you still don't know the combination of products or how to layer them on your skin, keep on watching. So the first thing we need to do when we cleanse the skin is to add hydration. It doesn't matter if your skin is oily, combination, normal, or really dry. You always need to add some sort of hydration to your skin. So the best thing is to always find a moisturizer that is suitable for your skin type. Now, I usually have quite oily skin, but in winter, I actually get dry patches on my skin as well. So that makes me a combination during winter and oily in summer. So the moisturizer I like to use is this one by First Aid Beauty. It's actually really hard to find here in Australia, so I have to get it shipped from the US. For me, this is one of the only ones that actually last all day on the skin, and it doesn't make your skin look greasy. Also, it's really good with any foundation that I have tried so far, and I never had any issue where the foundation was separating from the moisturizer. So we're going to start with the moisturizer first. And when I say a little bit, I don't even know if you can see that, it's running around my finger there. We don't actually apply too much. So I have a mirror on each side here so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to push that all the way into my skin. So I like to massage the moisturizer because that helps the skin grip the product, and that's going to help with the foundation application as well. It feels really nice and dry. So the next thing I am going to do is apply an eye cream. Now, a lot of people actually skip this step, and I suggest you really spend a bit of time doing your research and spend a little bit more money as well if you have to get a really good eye cream, because the skin under the eyes are usually much, much thinner than the rest of your face. So we need to actually add a little bit more attention to that. As we age, we get a lot of crow's feet, we get a lot of wrinkles, a lot of texture on the skin, and having that skin being constantly hydrated, it will help delay the aging process as well. My go-to for oily skin is the It Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye Cream. You can see the consistency, it's quite thick because again, I have oily skin, so you're going to be looking for products that have silicone base. So I'm just applying a little bit on my fingers and just go under my eye. And just while that product is soaking on my skin, I am going to apply a primer. This is my favorite primer for oily skin. This is the Hourglass Mineral Veil. It's not very cheap, but it's really good. Definitely one of the best primers for oily skin that I found so far, and guaranteed it's gonna work. This is how much product we're actually gonna be using. I am applying that just where my skin usually gets quite oily. I don't get oily cheeks, so I don't need to focus on applying that primer all over my cheeks. So I'm just going to focus here around the nose, on the nose area, on my chin, and around the mouth. Now, the next step is one that a lot of people actually forget about it, which is color correction. If you look closely at my skin, I do have a lot of pigmentation at the moment. I took all my makeup off before. The weather is changing here in Sydney. It's getting a little bit cooler. It means your skin will suffer a little bit more with the cold weather. So for me, I do have redness. As you can see, I definitely have a lot of dark circles, as you can see. So they need to be color corrected before we apply foundation. Okay, so with the color correction, I need a pitch corrector. So I'm going to use the one I have in my kit that always suits my skin tone. I like to use creams. You can use liquids, you can use creams, you can use basically whatever product you prefer. I work really well with creams. I am a makeup artist. I've been a makeup artist for 15 years, and I find really easy to blend the products, to manipulate the product on the skin, and make adjustments as we need as well. Nothing against liquids, but I find even if you want a little bit more coverage as well, cream's always going to help you with that. So the color correction is easy. You're just going to start applying that color just where the pigmentation is. You don't want to create a different shape. You don't want to over apply the product because that can look cakey. So if you look at it, how much product I'm actually using, it's really not that much. I am getting a tiny little bit on my brush and I'm pushing that product on my eye. The foundation I'm using is this one. I got these little samples and I really like this foundation. The only thing, they don't actually have my perfect match, so I need to mix them. So I'm going to use my little palette here and I am going to place that there. And you can see one is much darker than the other. And I'm kind of sitting in the middle at the moment. So I'm just going to mix this. I usually mix on the back of my hand when I'm working on myself, but just to show you guys, I am using my spatula. To match the foundation, always go on the chest. So we are going to place that foundation. And where did I go? That is what you want. You want your foundation to completely disappear on your skin. Now, I do have a lot of pigmentation on my face, and I do have a low cut, and I also have a little bit of pigmentation here too. So I actually need to bring my foundation all the way down to my chest. So the reason I always match to the chest first, because usually the chest will have a much better match than if you match a foundation to your neck or just to your jawline. Because most of the time you're wearing sunscreen or you have wear a hat, so your face ends up being a little bit lighter than your body. So first you need to match your chest, and then you're gonna match your face. So if that foundation disappears on my skin, which I know it does, that's your color match. Now, to apply a foundation, I am going to use a brush. Something really important to remember as well, because we have already done our color correction, I don't want to rub the foundation that I have sitting under. I am just going to push the product on the skin. So I am just pushing that here, and I am going to blend as much as I can. I always like using these big fluffy brushes for foundation, but this is entirely up to you because I feel like it's a lot of preference. There are a lot of beautiful products on the market at the moment, so it's really up to you to find something that suits you, something that you like, and works well for you. I'm just going to do half of my face so you can see the difference. Always matching the ear as well. And I'm going to bring this down to my neck. When you're working on your neck, you can actually go back and forwards. I'm not putting too much pressure on the brush. I'm not doing that. I'm just going very, very gently. I'm getting a little bit more, and I'm going to bring that all the way down to my chest. Okay, so now that I've done my base, I'm going to use the leftover I have on my brush to apply just a little bit on my eyelids. I'm not a big fan of using concealer on the eyelids because it does crease a lot, but just the leftover foundation you have on your brush can make or break the deal. So now that the foundation is actually really nice and wet, that's when we're actually going to go in and apply the bronzer and the concealer. Now, if you are using a cream or a liquid bronzer and concealer, that's when you're going to be applying them because the foundation is still wet. We can still move the product on the skin. Everything is still a little bit moist. So that's the time you're going to use any cream or liquids, bronzer or contours to apply to your skin. If you're going to use powders for that, you have to wait until that sets on the skin first to then go over with powders. If I get a powder and apply to my skin right now, it's just going to get stuck to it. I'm not going to be able to blend anything. For bronzer and contour, I am going to use this little wheel. You can see this color is quite nice and warm. And the one in the center is a really deep, cool color. So this one here, it's going to be my bronzer. And the one in the center is going to be my contour. I'm just going to work that product here on my little palette. I'm cleaning my spatula, and I'm just going to get the other one, the darker shade. And I'm just going to place here on the other side. And I am just going to work that product here. I am going to use a clean brush for that. Again, I am a lover of fluffy brushes. So again, comes down to preference, whatever you prefer. I am just getting a little bit of that bronzy shade, and you can see how much I have here. And I am going to apply the bronzer. If you don't know where to apply your bronzer, the bronzer should always go where the sun hits your face. Now, can you see how dark this is? This looks wrong. Don't worry about it. We're going to fix it. I am just going to apply a little bit more around my forehead, just on my hairline. And I'm just going to push that here. Again, I don't have any color correction done there, so that shouldn't be a problem. And I am just pushing that here, a little bit here on the top of the cheekbones, on the other side too. Now with the contour, I'm actually going to use the same brush. And you see, can you actually see how much product I'm using? Not much at all. And I have a really good bronze structure, so I'm just going to follow that. When you're applying the brush, I'm not doing this. I'm just going very gently. If you go really hard, you're actually going to remove all the layers that you have applied under. So we need to be very, very gentle. And I'm going to blend that. You can still use a stippling motion. Again, I don't have too much color correction on that part of my face. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. My forehead is looking a little bit too strong. We're going to fix that. Again, I'm just going to do this here and blend that contour. Now, I've done two things at wrong. So you can see how dark this looks. And can you see how it's a little bit patchy and it's the wrong placement here? What we're going to do, we're going to use the brush we used with the foundation. I'm not putting more product. I am just using the leftover product. And I'm just going to push that on the skin. That will help me blend the colors. And here we do the same thing. Now, if I feel like I still need a little bit more highlight on my face, because I mixed your foundation colors, I'm going to use the lighter shade. And I'm going to get a little bit more. Again, the brush I used with my foundation. And I don't know if you can see here, I'm just mixing a little bit more of that lighter shade. And that goes where I want highlights. I'm not usually a heavy-handed person with highlight and contour. I like keeping things really natural as much as I can. So as you can see here, I have a shade that's maybe 1 or 2 shades lighter than a foundation. And that's basically all you need. You don't really need anything else. Now, as you can see, I usually do the base first. This is entirely up to you. I feel like a lot comes down to preference. I learned to do makeup doing the base first, but the main thing you have to remember is if you are going to do the base first, you need to get really good at not having fallout. So that means when you're doing your eyeshadow, you don't want to have any leftover eyeshadow falling on your skin. So that's the main thing that you have to think about it. If you feel like you're going to be quite messy when you do your eyeshadow, then do your eyeshadow first, do your eyes first, and then you do your base. Because this way, you're going to be avoiding a lot of the fallout. I am going to do my eyes and my eyebrows off camera, and I'll come back in a sec. Okay, so I just went off camera now, and then I've done my eyes and I've done my lips, just so it looks like I have something else on my face. Going back to the order of the products, we have done the moisturizer, we have added a primer, eye cream, foundation, the contour, the bronzer. Now, if I am also using a cream blush, I actually need to apply that at the same stage. Now, my skin tends to be a little bit more on the oilier side, so I don't always use cream blushes on myself. But if you are going to use a cream blush, you would be applying that at the same stage when your foundation is still a little bit wet, everything is still blendable. You need to think about the consistency of the products. If all the products have the same consistency or similar consistency, they're going to be blending really nicely together, but they have to be applied about the same time. Now, I haven't set the skin, but the foundation I use is a foundation that it looks a little bit matte. Can you see? I'm not super shiny. I do have a little bit of highlight on my forehead, but that's just the reflection from the light. So I'm probably going to be applying a powder blush at the end. Now, why have I done the eyes and the lips before I finish the makeup? Because for me, as a makeup artist, something I developed over the years is a technique that I find it's easier to finalize the look when I'm doing the concealer right at the end, because that's going to help me lifting this area here and clean anything that might be sitting on the bottom of the eye. Okay, obviously if you do have a lot of fallout, you don't want to do that. You want to clean that first and then go over with all the layer of products. But for me, I find a concealer right at the end is the best way to go. So I'm just going to get cream concealer. I like full coverage as well. And I'm going back to this palette and I'm gonna find a shade that is about 1 or 2 shades lighter than my skin tone. Sometimes what I like to do as well, I still have the leftover foundation here. I'm gonna get a lighter shade and mix with the foundation. Again, as a makeup artist, you learn to mix a lot of products and find combinations to suit multiple clients as well. And I am a big mixer. I love mixing products. So for me, that techniques work. Maybe for you as a consumer might not work. You need to have a perfect shade that matches your skin perfectly, and that's completely fine. But for me, again, as a makeup artist, because I do have a lot of options as well, I can just mix and match colors. So I'm just gonna get a lighter shade here, and I'm gonna actually mix into that foundation. And it's not even that much lighter. To apply the concealer, I like to use a brush like this because it's nice and fluffy. And again, I'm just taking a little bit of the spatula. I don't know how much you can see. And I am just going to gently press that over where I want the foundation, that concealer to be. Okay, so again, I have 2 mirrors and I have my computer here as well. So I'm just trying to see what I'm doing. I still use my finger just to push that on the skin, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. Again, I am a very natural skin person. I don't like super heavy coverage unless it's completely necessary. So I will do my best to always have a really natural finish. So you can see it's slightly lighter, not too much. Now, what I can also do with this is just go around the nose. I can also use the concealer in a small brush to lift my lip. And we'll do the same thing here. And then you can see how that kind of helps lifting everything up. My eyebrows are really sparse. So how are we gonna fix this? I like to first use a little balm like that to help putting all the hairs in place. So I'm just getting a little bit and I'm just putting on the back of my hand, and I'm using a disposable spoolie. So I'm gonna get a little bit of that product and I just need to see what I'm doing. I'm just gonna brush them in place, find the shape that I like, and you can see how sparse my eyebrows actually are. So I'm gonna do that the same thing on the other side. Now you can see how one side I have big gaps just there, and on this side I have some gaps on the bottom. So we want to fix that. So after I put them in place, so I'm going to use an angled brush, and I'm going to use just an eyebrow powder. But the thing is, I'm using an activator. So this is a cake eyeliner sealer. And what that's going to do, that's going to make this product waterproof. So a few drops here, and we need to mix. So what we're going to do is create like almost like a little paste. I want to make sure that that product is coming off on my brush, and we're going to try to create some little hair strokes. Again, I am a very natural makeup person in general, so I like things to look as natural as possible. And what we're creating here with this brush, we're going to create, I don't know how much you can see, but some, oop, that's too strong, but some tiny little hairs. So that's the goal when we are creating, when we are fixing our eyebrows. So I just got that brush, and because I have a scar there, I'm just gonna start to create some little hair strokes, because that is gonna help, see, create a really natural finish for the eyebrow. I don't need too much here at the top. Maybe some little hairs here too. But you see, I want my eyebrows to still look like eyebrows. So this looks much fuller now. Now, what we're gonna do is create the same thing on the other side as well. You see how many gaps I have on this one? I have a lot of hairs there, and I have some little gaps here. That's because it's been over plucked. I used to go somewhere a long time ago, and she used to make my eyebrows so thin, and now I struggle to let them grow again. You can see how it's a little bit shiny there. That's because I have this scar. So not much actually sits on top of it. I feel like there's a little gap still. I'm just gonna try to cover that. But you see there is a white cast depending on how the light hits my eyebrow, but it's actually quite full. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm just gonna mix this again. Mix, mix, mix. Just any powder eyebrow, even if any eyeshadow, it works as long as you have a mixing medium to activate that. So I am just going to start filling in the gaps just by creating some little hair strokes, and then it looks so much more natural. If you like this video and want to learn a little bit more about makeup techniques, subscribe to my channel.